Okay, so so if you look at the assignment was here. So if all you need to do is come to, you can see data manipulation, but if you scroll down, you see assignment. If you click on it, it's going to say all you need to do on your own end is to click start assignment. That's all. But we've extended it to tomorrow anyway. So, but this time is going to be 11 p.m., 11:59 your own time. I think it's using my own time.
Of Nigerian time.
Okay. Hope that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, but in the light of that, see, for next week again, since we're going to look at plotting tomorrow. So you have quiz and assignment for this next week again. So the quiz is due on Friday, but the assignment will be due next week, Sunday. So by that next week, Sunday, we'll release the project. So the reason we're giving you back to back is that, remember, we want you to stay in touch because, and so that this thing will be, you keep coding till you get very comfortable. I know some of you are already getting very comfortable now with coding. I mean, Mr. Dejama, right? Is my assumption right? Yeah, you're getting comfortable, right?
I can't say really. I'm just think I'm picking one or two things.
Yeah, so but at least it's far better than how you started, right?
Sure, it's better.
So that's why we're giving you the quiz, the assignment, so that as you keep doing this, and then by the time you have projects again, you can use some of the things you have learned and you keep getting better and better and better. You know, it's a learning process. We are all learning. I'm also learning. There's no point you get to, you say, okay, I'm done. There's nothing like that. You keep going and going and going till you become very, very competitive in the marketplace. That's just, till you become better and better. And you said, okay, you get to a point, you say, okay, I think I'm too high for data science, so I want to be a manager of data science. That's how the learning goes on. You know, that's what they mean by 2 years experience with Python, because meaning that you are coding consistently. So that's why we're giving you all this. So for this next week again, you have quiz, exploratory data analysis quiz. Remember, the quiz involve working with data. So the same thing, and then you have assignment due 2 days after. And so, but today, this is what we're going to look at. So you should download this Anime Data Preprocessing notebook, and this is the raw data that we're going to look at. Yeah, so download that. And this is what I mean by next week. So I think I should put this stuff here. This one should be after the preprocessing. Yeah, the plotting should be just below. Yeah. So this is what we're going to look at tomorrow. And then this is a case study we'll look at next week, Saturday, and then we'll release the project. The project is already here, but we have not released it. Okay. So, and then we'll start machine learning regression the Saturday. Okay. So, yeah.
What are we to download for today's class?
So for today, what you need now is this Anime Data Preprocessing. And then this is the data for it. That's our question, sir. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think we are good now. Miss Jimmy, are you good? Okay. Yeah, so please download that. Let me share. Oh, I think I've not even. So today might look a little bit challenging, but please feel free to call me back if you don't have. So that same notebook I'm looking at. Okay. All right. So it's a case study. Okay. But I'm going to use it to teach data preprocessing. So give you a kind of a context of this. And this is how your project will look like too. We'll give you a case study, we'll give you the context of the data, and then we're looking at you as a data scientist, you know, in an organization. So that all of these projects should be part of your resume. You know, that's why we're giving you the context, so that if you want to explain your project in an interview, you have context that you want to explain it with. And that's why we said this course is part of remote internship. Although the idea is to teach for 4 to 5 months and use the last 1 month for, or 1.5 months to 1 month for project and presentation, where we'll just be meeting for presentation of your project, because we also want to teach presentation skill, and so that we'll give you feedback, you go back, and then we'll also use that to review your resume and LinkedIn profile. So it's part of the 6-month package. Okay, so it's not like the course will be 6 months. It may not be. It may just be 4.5 or 5 months. It depends on how fast we can go. Okay, so this is the context of this study, that we have a streaming company, and their goal is actually, what they do at this company is that they stream web series and movies for worldwide audience. So on their portal, the content of their portal, they are rated by viewers, and this portal, their website also provides other information, you know, like the number of people that have watched a particular film, like, you know, those who want to watch it, the number of episodes, that anime. So that anime is like a streaming, you know, series, you know, the number of episodes it has, the duration of an episode, things like that. So this company is currently focusing on the anime. By anime, we mean, you know, these streaming movies. So they are currently focusing on the anime available on their portal, and they want to identify the most important factors involved in rating an anime. But what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to focus mainly on, I'm not going to do visualization to help answer this question of how to identify the most important factors. By the time I teach visualization tomorrow, I'm sure you'll be able to do all of that. Then we'll do a case study that will involve it. But what I want to focus now is that, because before you identify the most important factors in your data, because that's what the company is interested in. Company will give you data and tell us that, can you help us use your data science skills to find the most important factors that will contribute to the increase in revenue or reducing production costs, things like that. So, so you can see that what we are looking at is, as a data scientist, your task is identifying important factors and then building predictive models. So everything all encompassing, like all inclusive of end to end. You start, you pre-process data, you visualize it to find important factors, and you build machine learning models to make prediction. But what I'm going to focus on, because we're still going to get to those parts, what I'll focus on is, the data is messy. How can we pre-process this data? We are still going to use this data, the cleaned one that we're going to get today, to build linear regression when we get to regression topic next week. So, but right now, what we want to do is to get the data from the raw form to a clean form. Because as a data scientist, if your data, the first step, that's what we want to look at today. You need to prepare your data for modeling. If your data is very messy, you will not be able to build model on it. In fact, if you do all the wuru-wuru stuff, you may even get very poor model that will give you poor result. So that's why we want to spend time today pre-processing this data, getting it from a messy state to a clean state. And then we can start visualizing this data from tomorrow and building regression model on this same data if we want to. Any question on the background? Is the goal clear?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so there's an end-to-end stuff. All right, so now this, yeah. You want to say something?
Yeah, I want to ask like the first question this is trying to ask. Like I want to understand it better. If you can throw more light on that.
Well,
What are the key factors influencing the rating of an anime?
Caleb, you will be able to answer this with visualization. So, like I
Okay.
said, yeah, it's an end-to-end stuff. Like, okay, the most time in the industry, like they will just give you data and tell you, can you help find the important factors that from this data that can help, achieve our goal.
Okay.
So that's what they will give. Now to answer that, so what we are going to do today, we're not going to touch this first. We'll leave this one probably for tomorrow, and we'll leave this one for when we touch regression. But what we want to do today is get the data from where it is so that we'll be able to do this during visualization. With visualization, you'll be able to answer this one. Does it make sense? Okay. Okay. So now these are the columns in the data, and these are the information. So this is just similar process how your their project will look like I said. We'll give you the next info. So the title of the anime. So the data has a column called title that gives the title of the anime. The anime is just more like streaming movies, like series. Okay, so the media, the format of publicating these movies, that's the format. Maybe it's a TV, advertisement, things like that. The number of episodes, movies are considered one episode. So if it's a movie, it's just one episode. But if it's a series, a TV series, you should have many number of episodes. So the duration of an episode, and then we have what we call ongoing, whether the movie is still going on, the year that the airing, that series started, that they started watching it, the year that the airing finished. The airing there means like they started watching it. The season of release of that anime, whether it's in the winter, is in the spring or fall. The synopsis, description of the plot, we may end up dropping this because this is more like a short description for the series, for the movies or series. So we may not need it later. The studios responsible for creating that anime, and then whether the anime has a content warning, that's content warn, the number of users that completed the anime, watching it, the number of users that are currently watching it, that's watching, and want to watch, number of users that want to watch it. Now number of users that drop the anime before completion. Then this is, suppose we are doing regression in machine learning, which we are still going to do. This is the dependent variable. Statistics use terms like dependent and independent variable. By dependent variable, mean that's the target. That's what we want to predict. That's the, so yeah, that's the target. That's what you want to predict. And all of these other ones are called independent variable, meaning those are the features, the variables in the data. But this is the why, if you are a mathematics guy. So this is the number of votes that contribute to rating. And then we have some columns that start with tag underscore, something like the genre. Like I will show you whether the anime has the certain tag or falls in a certain genre. So those are the columns in the data. So let's look at the data so that you can understand it clearly. Now, we import NumPy and pandas in case we want to use NumPy, but we use pandas to load our data and do all the preprocessing. Now, these options, I just put there so that you can be aware that there is normally if you don't set this, it's possible for pandas not to help you display your entire column, all the columns in the data. But if you want to display all of the columns, we have some option in pandas that you can set to say, okay, I want to display all the columns in my data. but I want to set the rows, display of the rows to 200. I want to be able to see 200 rows. Sometimes this thing doesn't work, but most times this is how to set the rows. Like suppose I want to show all the data. I want to show about 200 rows. You know, normally it only show 5 rows or first 5 rows or last 5 rows, but it's possible to also show like 200 rows or show more than that. You are the one that will set this number. So yeah, so pandas has those options. Okay, please, at any point you have a question, feel free to jump in, please. Okay, so let's run this. So we import our pandas and NumPy. Now I have downloaded the data, the anime raw data that I was telling you about. So this is my path. Please give me a minute, please. Yeah, so let's load the data. Now let's check the first few rows of this data. I'll just check the shape for like the dimension of the data. So you see that this data is about 14,578 rows, and we have 48 columns. 48 columns. So this data has some, yeah, a number of columns. So we can check, let's check some rows in the data. So we can just pick some data at random. Let's just pick like maybe 5 rows at random to see. Now, look at, so this is the title column, you can see, is the title of the anime. The media type, maybe it's a music video, is web series, OVA. I don't know what OVA stands for. Okay, so this is the number of episodes. If it's a movie, it's going to have 1 episode, but there are some that have more episodes. You can see the duration. And look at the duration. We have 36 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes. So whether it's ongoing, it's false, meaning it has ended. If it is true, that means it's still going. See the start here, the year the anime started, the year it ended. The season of release, we have some missing values there. See the description of the anime. So we have also the studios that produce the anime. Some are empty square bracket. We have also some are list of studios. Some is just a single studio, and some are list of studios. Whether it has content warning or not. And if you scroll down, you can see all of them here. So these are the tag that I said that is based on the genre, like tag romance. So that means that that episode is, that anime is a romance anime. School life is about school life, things like that. So a couple of them, yeah. But my quick question is, looking at this data, is there anything that you feel that is wrong, that are wrong here? Some few things that are wrong with this data. Let's talk. What do you see from your view? What can you see that is wrong with this data? Anybody?
Like the missing data.
Data, yeah.
And we have lists in some columns.
Good. We have lists, so this is a problem on itself. Lists are these ones, okay? Any other
Then I
one?
would expect that the generals be in a single column, not like, I don't know, as in.
Which one? Okay, this genre, right?
Yes, the general is just different genres. I feel that they should be sort of put together.
Okay. Yes, we can. Yeah. I thank God we've learned how to do that last week, right? We learned how to melt this kind of column. So yeah, we can do that. Yeah, but for now we'll keep it that way, but we can do that. We can actually. So if you want to do, like you said, if you want to build, use this for visualization or analyzing, yeah, we can do that. So, but for now, let's just keep it first. Okay, but what other thing? Any other person? That all?
Then the, what's it called? The indexing.
No, well, this indexing is because I took a sample. It's actually start from 0.
It's a random sample.
Yeah, it's a random sample.
Then in the then the data type, like this one has 36 minutes, the duration.
Exactly, duration. Why? What is wrong here?
Because you have two type of data types. You have numeric and you have string, and it's actually not in as in the format.
That's right. Thank you. That's a very good point. Remember last week I said one of the rules we said that each column should be a variable, meaning that every column must have a single data type. This one now is a mixed data type. It has both number and text. So if we check the data type, we're going to check, you will see that it's going to put object there, meaning that it's a text. So it's not recognizing duration as a value, as a number. It's seeing it as a text, 36 minutes. But I mean, it's good if you are telling someone, but if you want to work on it, if you want to analyze this will become a problem. So there are a couple of problems here. The duration having mixed type, we have some missing values, we have some lists there, things like that. So we need to, and that's what we do. The duration has values in hours and minutes. The studios column has list of values, and there are a lot of missing values there. So we need to take care of this. Okay, so to start, the first thing we'll do, I mean, just for safety, is not required, but it's a good practice if your data is not too large. So let's create a copy of the data. Okay, let's just create a copy of this so that we don't touch the original data. I showed us how to make a copy during NumPy so that we can do data.what? .copy. So this now, we copy the entire data to this. So, but anything we are doing on DL will not affect our data. So we just make a copy of the data. So let's check if we have any duplicate in our data. Does anybody remember how to check for duplicates?
Duplicated.
Duplicated, thank you. So we have duplicated, and then we can do .sum. Okay, we see that there is no duplicate in our data. So we have 0 duplicate. Okay. So now let's check, let's see I mean, we've seen the column name, so maybe we don't need to check the column name. But if you want to do that, you know how to do that. You can just do .columns. I won't run that. So let's check the data type just to be sure. You see, let's use the info method to check for more information. So you can see the duration that is seen as object. Is seen as object, even though it is not. The studios is also seen as object, but it's a list of strings, so list of objects. So it's seen as object. We have missing values, obviously. We have the total rows are 14,578, but you can see some that are not up to that, you know, things like that. So we're going to use some of the things we discussed last week on how to fill the missing values. Even the ones suggested by Mr. Dejo in terms of grouping, we'll look at all of that here, which is a very good suggestion. Okay, so like Jimmy suggested, we can melt these ones to a column called maybe tag genre or genre, and then we can melt them. You know, we can even remove the tag if you want to. We can remove this tag and you know, and just crop out this string there. You can remove the tag and then make these, you know, the rows. So I'll leave you with all of that creativity, but it's actually not difficult. You can remove the tag. I've shown us how to do something like this, like using the split, and we split it by the underscore, and then we can expand equals to true. I showed us something like this last week. Hope we still remember. So yeah, so we can do something like that and just turn all of this, turn these ones to be the rows, you know. Yeah, we can do that, and that'll be good. So you can do all of that creativity there. Okay, we are giving you several tools. Now, what we're going to do, let's explicitly check for missing values. We know that there are a lot of missing values here. So, but let's check. Now you can see that the media type has 68 missing values. Number of episode has 359. Duration has a lot of missing values here. So you can see that. So we need to deal with these missing values. So let's start. Let's pick one. Okay, this is where we start the preprocessing. We can also check get some overview of the data using describe, like the statistical summary. Okay, and we can even let's include all, just also to include the categorical variable, and let's transpose it because there are a lot of columns there. So if you look at the media type, which is a categorical variable, the most frequent media type used for airing this anime is the TV. You can see, so the TV was actually used. Some use web, but the most frequent one is the TV. The season of release. So most animes were released in the spring. Okay, in the spring. Spring for those in the United States, I think start from around that March, January to I think April. Caleb, I should be right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's so the most common season of releasing this movie is in the spring. Which other categorical variable do you want to look at? So you can see now that even this square bracket for studios is very common. So we need to deal with it. Yeah, so those are the categorical variables there. Like yeah. And then if you want to see the ratings, suppose you want to do build models on it. You see the rating tool has missing values. Normally, when you want to build machine learning models, your dependent variable should not have missing value because there's no way you can predict missing values. So that's one thing I want to tell you. If you are building machine learning models, you will, and one of the type of machine learning is called supervised. Don't worry about that. We'll go into that deeply. But your dependent variable must not have missing value. If it does, please remove them. So that's, I think, where we're going to start with. But if you look at the rating is on a scale of 0 to 5. So that's why the minimum rating, if you look at it, is 0.844. The maximum is 4.702, which confirms that is on a scale of 0 to 5. So, but the decimals are allowed also. So that's why the minimum was 0.844 and the maximum was 4.702. Okay, and so that's what we saw summarized here, that the anime ratings ranges between these, so it's on a scale of 0 to 5. The TV is the most occurring media. These are I want you to be summarizing when you are doing the project. As you explore the data, please summarize your findings below it. Summarize your findings below. Though there is also the last place where you give recommendation, but summarize your findings below each exploration. That's what I want the project to be. Okay. Because that will help you as you are working. You know, you may not remember some of the things you have done, but if you imbibe this habit, you summarize the things you've just done, it will help you, you know, to remember what you have done. Okay, so for anime whose season of release available, spring is the most common season, like we saw that there. So let's start the pre-processing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to handle the missing values in the dependent variable. Please, if you have questions, please feel free to ask me, please. Just jump in and ask. Okay, so we're going to drop the missing values in the dependent variable rating. Yeah, we're going to drop it. You can't impute, don't fill the missing value in your dependent variable because you don't know what it is. That's why you will build model to predict. So you cannot impute it. You have to drop it. So that's the first thing we'll do. So I'll take my data frame, take my drop NA. So we have the drop NA. Now inside this drop NA, look at the argument. There's an argument called subset that you can use to list all of the columns you want to drop their missing values on. If you check subset, is there labels along other axes to consider. if you are dropping rows, this would be a list of columns to include. So you can use subsets to drop the list of columns you want to drop their missing values. You want to drop the rows missing. Okay? So I will use in place to be true because I want the effect to take place. Okay, so I will do that. Now, once you have done that, it's going to drop some rows in this data that is missing. And remember, suppose it's index 1, 3, 5 that you dropped, those rows will be removed. So we need to reset the index back so that the index can still be from 0, 1 and continue like that. So anytime you drop rows in your data, remember to reset the index of those rows. But watch, if I do dot reset index, I'm not saving it. But look at what the problem is, that it's going to create an additional, that new index is going to create it for me. So you can see this is the new index, the correct index, but because we have dropped some rows, the original index did not match. So this is the correct index, but it creates it as a column. So we don't want a new column. We want it to affect the original index, but we don't want it to create that index as a new column. Are you following? Do you understand what I'm doing, please? Any question? Can I move on?
Yes, please.
Okay, so yeah, so we don't want it to create it. So we just do drop. There are arguments here that you can use to correct that. So we use set drop to be true, okay? And then we want the effect to take place. So as before, we set in place to be true. So we just do drop equals to true, and then we'll do our in place to be true. Okay, so once we do this, now if we check it, let's just check so that you can see. You can see no, that has been corrected. So now no index there again. Okay, now let's check the missing values just to still be sure. As you are doing your work, you have to be checking to be making sure that what you are doing is actually occurring. You can see rating now has no missing values again. So we've dealt with that for rating. So we'll continue. So let's pick another column called the start year. So first, let's check the missing values in the start year. Let's check. So we can do df and pick where is null equals to true. You can use the dots or you can use the square bracket one. Start year, check is null. So if you check, see where we have missing the starting year to be missing. Now, this data was collected in 2020, but we don't know when the anime actually started airing. But this data was collected in 2020, but we have no idea when the anime started. So it may be very difficult to impute this. You may need further information to say, I want to fill the missing value of start year with something. You may need more information. So maybe in the organization, you may need to talk to if you are not the one that, if you did not crawl this data from the internet, you may need to talk to the team that collected it. But but what we are going to do here, we are going to assume that it's very difficult to fill the missing value of this start year because we don't know when the anime actually started. We know the year we collected the data, but we don't know when it started. So we are going to just drop the missing values in the start year. And that's what we do here. So that we will drop the entries with no start year, as this is a difficult column to include. However, always read this. This is our suggestion, that the decision to drop it or to impute any missing values is dependent on your domain knowledge. By domain knowledge, we mean you talking to an expert, or you having expertise of how the data, you understand the data, you have the required information on how to deal with it. And based on the steps taken to deal with them, the model performance will vary. That's it. That's what determines how the model you will build later on will perform. So, but we are going to drop the missing value in the start year. Any question on that decision? Are we good? Okay, so we take DF. We use just the same idea, drop NA, and then we put use a subset equals to this start here. Okay, and then we set in place to be true. Okay, so remember as before, we'll reset the index. We set the index, we'll make sure we put drop to be true and in place to be true. Right? So let's check the missing values again to be sure we have dropped the missing value in the start year. You can see now the start year now has been taken care of. That's we drop it because we feel that we don't have any information as to when the anime started, and it's very difficult to impute such missing values. So let's look at that of finish year now. Let's look at the rows where this finish year is missing. So same thing. Finish year. Let's check the row where we have missing values. Now there are a lot of them, but look at finish year. So we know, remember this data was collected in 2020. Now, for most of where we have missing value in the finish year, for all of them, we have the information on when the airing started, like the starting year. The starting year is this column. So like this movie started 2020, this anime, but we don't know the finish year. This one started in 2018. We don't know when it's finished. We don't even know if it is still going on. But we have ongoing. We even have this information of ongoing. You can see it's still going. So for even all of that, you can see that that movie is still going on. So that could be why we do not have the finish year. The ongoing column shows that this movie is still, this anime is still airing, is still going on. So what can we do? Let's check the statistics for this particular data. Let's just check the statistics here. Let's do the describe. To describe where we have these missing values for that, let's transpose this. Let me include all to be. Now, see the finish. So for the finish here, you can see that for where we have all the missing values, the 75% of those animes started after 2018. You can see that only 25% of the anime started between 1969 and 2018, where we have the finish here, where we have the movie that is still airing, that is still going on. But about 75% of those anime that are still going on, they started after 2018. And since we collected this data in 2020, what I'm going to do now is to assume that the finish year will be 2020. Because we collected this data 2020, and 75% of this anime actually started above, like after 2018. So I'm going to assume that the finish year for them is 2020. But remember, this is just my own interpretation, my own domain knowledge. Okay? So that's what I'm going to assume based on my analysis. But remember, my analysis is based that I've talked with my team. So that's the assumption I've made. Okay? So I'm going to fill the finish year with 2020. Please feel free to ask questions here. So I will select the finish year. And then I will use fill NA. We did this last week. And I'm going to fill it with 2020. And I will do in place to be true. Okay. Any question? And let me check the missing value again. Question? All right. So now we've handled the starting here and the finish here. Any questions so far? Are we on point? Are we good? Okay. Let me assume yes. Okay. So now we're going to pick other columns. So what we want to do now is that we're going to create a new column from these two columns. That's what we call feature engineering. We'll just create a column, though we have the ongoing to be ongoing column to tell us true or false whether the enemy is going on. So let's create a new column called years running, just to know the number of years the enemy is running. And that will be the finish year minus the start year. Okay? So we can just do df years running. And then we can do our df, take the finish year, and then do minus df start here. Okay, so once we do this, we create a new column. So the reason for doing this is that now, once we create a new column from maybe two columns or another column, you can now drop the original column. I will discuss more on this when we start regression. There's a concept in statistics called what's it even called? Multicollinearity problem, meaning that two columns or two or more columns sharing the same information. So when you have that in your data, when you build your data with such columns, it may not give you a reliable model. This is because the model will find it difficult to know which of the columns is actually contributing to predicting the dependent variable. So in that case, you drop one of the columns. If two columns are very correlated, I'm going to show you on how to find correlation as we move on. Correlation and what correlation means. I'm going to talk about that when we start getting to regression. So when two columns have similar information, we say they are correlated together. They are correlated. So if you build models with columns that are very correlated, the models will be biased and the model will not be reliable because it's not going to know which of those columns contributes more. So the idea is that you drop one of them. If there are three, you drop two of them, you leave only one. So now that we have created years running from this finish and start here, we are going to drop the finish and start here. But let's run this first. Check the first few rows so that you can see the years column. If we scroll to the very end, you see that this is the years column. Is the subtraction. This means that the start year was maybe, if the finish year is 2020, that means the start year is just 2019. If it's 0, that means, and the finish year is 2020, that means the movie actually started 2020 also. So now that we have this column, we can drop the finish and start year. Question so far? Question? Is it clear so far? I need a response, please.
It is.
Okay. All right. So now let's drop the start here and finish here. So we use the drop, not drop NA, because we are not dropping missing, but we want to drop the column. So we use drop. So we can just pass, drop it, then we'll pass in a list of the columns we want to drop. Start here and comma finish here. Remember to set the axis to 1 because you are dropping columns, and remember to set in place to true because we want the effect to take place. So we are dropping columns, not rows, so we don't need to reset index. Okay, so now they've been dropped. Let's check the, so if now we want to deal with the problem in the duration. Remember we pointed out that duration has a mixture of text and numbers. Let's even check the unique values you have there before you deal with it. Be sure you are familiar with the columns. So let's do unique. Now look at how the rows are. We even have missing values, none. This is from NumPy. Then we have hours with space and then minutes. And we have some that are pure minutes, you can see. So what we are going to do now is that we are going to convert everything to a single unit, minutes. Meaning that if it is 1 hour 47 minutes, we'll multiply 1 by 60. That will be 60 plus 47. That will be 107 minutes. This one will be 2 times 60, which is 120 plus this 130 minutes. Now, there are so we are going to write a function that will help us deal with this. We are going to remove all these hour, minutes, and we'll make it a pure number, but we will make sure that we convert the hour to minutes. What I want to do, is it clear what I want to achieve? Is it clear to us what we want to achieve?
It's clear.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So, but I will make our function general because in this case, we do not have a pure number, but it is possible for someone to just put hour alone, like we have 12 minutes. It's possible for someone to just write 12 hours or 3 hours. So we do not have that case here, but I want to make our function handle such cases too. So because we don't know which data that may be added to this one. If it's a scenario where our data is being updated on a regular basis, let's write a function that will take care of it. So we'll write a function to convert the duration column to numeric, but if it has hours, it's going to be like the hour multiplied by 60 plus the minutes. Okay, so let's call that function time to minutes. Okay, now that function will take a column, a variable, the column that we want to apply this function on. Let's name it as variable. Okay, now I'm going to use something in Python basis called isInstance. What isInstance does is this. Let me give you us an instance. Suppose that we have a string called S1. It's called boy. If we do isInstance, so shift tab, it takes the variable and the class. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm checking, is this variable, is it a string? It should give me true or false. So it's Boolean. So we use that to check if it sees it as a string or not. If it's a float, I can say, okay, is this a float? It will tell me false because it's a string. So I'm going to use that idea in my function to say, okay, because the reason why I did that is this. Let me show you something. Let's use NaN. You know, we have NaN here, missing value, which is from NumPy, np.nan. If I check that, is it a float? You see that a float is seen, NaN is seen as a float. So, and we have NaN as part of the rows. You remember NaN stands for the row that is missing, but Python doesn't see that row missing as a string, even though others are string. And once you have NaN, Python interprets it as a float. So that's why I need to check. Otherwise, my function will fail because what I want to do is to convert. I cannot apply split on a float. I can only apply split on a string. So that's why we want to use this instance. That okay, check it to be sure that it's a string. If it's a string, do all of this. If it is not string, meaning it's a float, meaning it's NaN, then do something else. Okay? So that's what I want to do. So if isInstance of this variable is a string, so now you will do all of this. So the first scenario we want to cater for is, let's check for only hour. So I said the scenario where we have just only hour, just 2 hours. We do not have that here, but it's possible to have it. So we check for only hour. Okay, so we'll do if hour in a variable and minute is not there, min not in variable. What should we do? Now, let me give you an instance of that. I want you to be seeing that picture. So let's say we have this x1 to be 4 hours. It's like this. What we need to do here is to remove this hour. So if we replace S1, if we do S1 dot replace hour by empty space, look at what it's going to give us. It's going to give us 4. So now we'll now convert this one to a float. Remember, we want to, so when we convert to a float, now this 4.0, we can now multiply it by 60. So we are converting the hour to minute. Now becomes 2 4. That's what we want to do. Okay, so that's exactly what we do here. So if there is only hour there and minute is not there, so let's say hour equals to, I'll just do exactly what I've done here. So I will do var dot replace the hour by empty space and then convert it to a float and then multiply it by 60 to convert it to minutes. And once you do that, return that result out. So far up to this point in this function, is this clear? Is it?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. All right. Let's undo case where we only have minutes, like we have here, just minute. Is we are going to do similar thing. We'll just replace the minute by empty space, but we'll convert it to a float, but we'll not convert it to 60 because remember it's already in minute. We are converting everything to minute. Okay, so let's check for only a minute. So we'll do if our let's start with minute. If minute in var and hour is not there, and hour not in var, so we just do the same thing. So we just do means. Let's do var dot replace. Replace what? We are replacing the minute by empty string. Then we'll convert it to a float. Okay, and then we'll return the minute too. Okay, I believe this is similar to this, so this should be clear. But if you have questions, please feel free to jump in and ask. Let's check the last case where they both are, it has hour and minute, but look at the space there. So let me show you. I like you to see the picture, of the code. So let's say we have 4 hours, 10 minutes. So the first thing we need to do is to split it. It's okay, because we have space between them. So if we split, you can say now we have hour and minute. So what we'll now do is that there are 2 cases here. We'll first undo the hour there by picking just the first one. It's a list. So if we do this 0, that means we are picking out just this. So if we do that, then we can use the concept we have done up here for it. Replace, they now do replace, the hour, just same concept. Replace the hour by empty stuff, and then we can convert it to a float and multiply by 60. But we need to first split it first to get this. To get the minute, we just change this to 1. So let's undo that case. See. So let's check for both hour and minute. Okay, so we'll do, instead of if for this one, let's make it elif. So else if hour in var and minute in var. So what do we do? Let's undo the hour first. Remember we said you are going to first split and then pick the first one, and then we replace the hour there by empty space, and then we convert that result to a float. Since it's hour, then we multiply by 60. For the hour part, question, is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
You can see how code are reading that you won't know till you write many lines of code, but you must be seeing the picture. And that's why I'm showing us here. Okay, so that's for the hour. For the minute, if we pick one in this case, and then we're going to replace the minutes, because when you split it, it's a list of this, comma this. So 1 is the second one, which is the 10 minutes. Then we replace the minute by empty space. If you do that, you can see it gives us 10. And we just convert it to float, that's all. Okay, so we'll do means. So we'll do var.split, and then we'll pick the second one, and then we'll do dot replace minute by empty string, and then we just convert everything to float. Since it's in minutes, we don't need to multiply by that. So what do we return? We return the addition of both. Since we've already converted this one to minutes, this one is now also in minutes, we just add them together. So that will be 4 times 60, 240 plus 10, that will be 250. So we just return hour plus minutes. That's what we return. So this will undo all of the cases we have, but we've not undone the missing value. So because the missing value is not a string, so we have to come out of this if. You can even undo another case where you have pure number. If you have pure number, then all of this one will fail. So you can even do else, return that variable like that. However, we've not undone the missing value. The missing value will not even be a string. So it's not even going to enter this block. I mean, it's not even going to enter this block at all. So it's going to fail. So we need to undo that case. And that's why I'm in the first if block. I mean, the first if, because remember the missing value, the NaN float. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so now we have floats. What if it's an integer?
Yeah, that's what this is handling. Let me put it.
That's what.
Return check for just number. So that's what
So you know what we made them? We made them float, right? You know, we converted those ones to float. So is
yes.
You get, so if you say return variable, you just return the variable as it is. It will not make it a float, or it will automatically make it a float.
Okay, yeah. We can just do float
of
var. That's right. Right. So that's if you have just number without hour or minute, right? Yeah, that's what we do here.
Yes. If you have just number without.
Yeah. So now let's take care of the missing value. Remember, the missing value by default is a float. So it's not even going to, because this one is saying check if it's a string. This one is doing check if variable is a string. So because that null will not even pass here, because it will not even enter this block. So we need to undo that. So, and that's why I will come to this block here and put his own else. Else, what should we return? We return that missing values, np.nan. Is this clear?
You should return the missing value.
If it's remember we have none here. And
that means that we have not undone the missing values yet. I should just return the
yes,
none as
we'll
none.
undo the missing values. Remember our goal here is not to undo missing value, is to undo the data type.
Okay.
Yes. We'll still undo the missing value. So let's put this here that check for NaN. Okay, so you should just return it the way it is. If we do not put this, it's going to have issue. It's not going to know what to do to this. because it's not a string. So it's not going to know what to do with it. So that's why we just need to give that function that you should just return it the way it is. If it's NaN, we'll undo the NaN later. And that's why my function is time to minutes. Consider. Okay, any question from us? Any question?
So what if he has empty strings?
If it has empty, you can, yeah, so what this will do, then this will fail here. This will fail. So you can make the function robust. We can do it actually and say else if var equals to empty string, maybe fill it with NaN. We can do that.
Okay.
You get else if var equals to empty string, then return empty.NaN. We can do that too. That could be part of the conditions. Okay. All right. Okay, if there's no question, that's the function. Let's apply it. Now, so let's apply the function. So we'll call our duration. So we have two choices here. Is either we save the result back as the same name, or we should create a new name for duration. Which one will you prefer? Should we create a new or save it back as duration?
I think we save it back as duration. That's my own. Save it back as duration so that
right?
I don't have multiple columns.
Okay, so this is creating, saving it back as duration. Now we'll select the column we want to apply that function to. So we can just do dot apply. So we just do dot apply and then pass in the function time to minutes. Now when you are using apply, you just pass the name of the function. Don't put bracket or any variable. So what this is doing is that it's going to take this column and pass it to this function just like this. So when you do apply the name of the function, it's going to take this as the input to this function. That's what it's doing. And it's going to apply that to all the rules. If this worked, we'll check anyway. No error. Let's check. Before, we will not have been able to check the summary because it's object. Let's even check before we check the summary, let's check a few rows. Now, you see the duration has been converted. Now, 107 minutes, 130, but we return the NaN, that's why. So we can even check summary now. Now is in float, so we should be able to check the descriptive statistics for duration. So now you can see now that the data type is now float. We could now check the minimum duration is 1 minute. The maximum duration is 163 minutes. So you can see that for, but this for the, whether it's a movie or it's a series, those are what we have here. So this is one case. You can see data preprocessing is challenging. And that's why they say it takes about 80% of the time you will spend working. But yeah, I just need to show a real scenario, real case scenario of what you'll be doing. So that's why. So any question? Any questions so far? Are we good so far? It's only Jimmy that is talking. Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Why? Are we good? Hope we are not dozing off.
I thought I started biting Timmy.
Jimmy, please, let me see the code you used to call this thing. So.
Okay, wait, I will show you. AY, are we? Hope you are not sleeping.
No, I'm trying to follow with the flow.
You know you are my PA. Please don't sleep on me. Okay. All right. So yeah, I will. That's why I will show us a case study next week. And the case study, I will drop the code for that case study. Like I will upload the completed notebook so that we can follow it for the first project. Okay? And you can use it for your personal projects, whether in school or anything too. Yeah. So this is how we call the function thing. So, but remember not to put brackets in front. Okay? All right, so let's take another one. So we remember we've not handled the missing values, but we just converted it to it. We handled it. So let's look at season of release. Now, season of release is the one that have let's use the unique value there so that you can see season of release. So let's do unique. So you can see it has NaN. We have spring, fall, winter, summer. It has NaN. We don't know the season that movie was released, but maybe we shouldn't just drop the row because it's going to affect that. Let's just fill it with, let's just say, okay, fill it with a string called is missing, just to let people know that, okay, that season is missing. So this is more like what I showed last, that filling with a constant value, filling NAs with a constant value. So we just fill the NA with is missing or unknown, things like that, you know. But we don't want to drop the rules because that may also, it's already a categorical variable, and dropping the row will affect all other columns. So let's just fill it with maybe it's missing or unknown. But I'll fill it with it's missing. So I'll just take season of release, do fill NA, and then we'll fill it with is underscore missing. And then I will set in place to be true. Okay, so let's check for missing values now. So we'll do is null. You can say how I'm working, I'm checking. That's how you write code. You have to be checking your work. Don't wait till you are done. It will be you won't know where to trace the error to. So you can see season of release now, we undo that. So we still have media type. The duration is still there, but at least now we can choose which method to use now because we've made sure it's now one data type. Description, we're still going to drop that one because we don't need the description of the anime. Watched, we'll look at strategy to deal with this. But we still have other challenge in the studios. Studios has no missing value, but remember, is a list. But we'll come back to that. So let's undo the media type. Let's also check the media type. Let's check the unique media type that we have there. Unique media type. So the unique media type are TV, movie, web, special, and we still have NaN too. We even have one they call order, but we don't know whether this order means it's missing because we don't know, maybe they filled the missing one with order, but how come we still have order? So I will use that, I'll just put unknown. I won't use order because if I use order, it's going to add it with the order that is already there. And we don't know if this order means it is missing. So it's better to use another thing. It's a categorical variable, so I will just fill it with unknown. You can say I'm not making choice or saying that, okay, which one occur most? I used to fill it because that may change the interpretation of my data. To say, okay, TV is the one that occur most. I will now use TV to fill the missing value. Well, that's fine. That's a choice, but remember, just know the consequence of whatever decision you are making, okay? And use it with, make sure you fill it with your domain knowledge. So I will use unknown, okay, for the media type. So I will do media type. I'll do fill NA, and I'll use unknown. And I'll also set in place to be true. Okay, so let's check for the unique ones now again in media type to be sure we have the unknown that we just put there now. Mr. Caleb, hope you are still here. You can see now, I have filled it with unknown. So now media type, we have no missing values. Any questions so far? Okay. We still have some work to do. So the most challenging one here would be studios. So we need to deal with that. So remember studios. Let me print it out so that you can see. Studios. Let's see the unique. Now look at how studios are. You can see it's a list. Some lists have a single element, and we have some that contains two lists of studios that produce the anime. Some even contain more than 2. So like this one, you can see this one have like, okay, this one is still 2, but there are some that are even more than 2. So there are a couple of things we need to do here. First, we need to remove this square bracket. And then 2, once we remove the square bracket now, there will be double string there. Because if you remove the square bracket, you already have one double quote here. You will now be with single quote. And some are even empty square brackets. Some are empty. So we'll be left with blank rows in such case. Some are empty square brackets. So in that case, we'll be left with blank rows once we remove the square bracket. So we need to replace that blank rows with NaN, just to say that it's missing. Okay? So the unique one is what is listing. It's not going to list the empty bracket, but we have it. If you check, you can see some empty. So once we remove this square bracket, this will be blank string. So we need to replace that with NaN to say that it's missing. But first, we need to remove this. So we'll use a concept like what we did last week. And that's why I want to show us a picture here. That suppose we have this. Remember that is a series. We need to first pass it as a string to have access to the method we use on string. We used that concept when we were melting data last week by doing .str, if you remember. And that same thing we're going to do. But here I'm just showing us that, okay, convert this list to a string. And then suppose I want to strip off this. I will use what we call rstrip. So in stripping method for string, there are 3 choices. We have left strip, right strip, and or strip. Okay, so if I use just strip, it's not going to remove both square brackets because there's nothing to strip. By default, it strips space. So I have to tell it to, I have to do it one after the other. If I do this, see, it's going to drop this one and leave this one. So we need to do both at the same time. Let me show you what I'm saying. So I'll still save it back as studios. So what I would do is select my studios, that column, pass it as a string, and then we can have access to the string method. There's a method called left strip, you can see. So let me strip the left square bracket first. I still have to pass it to as a string to have access to the right strip. And then I will now do the right one. Let's check the result so that you can see. And I'm saving it back as df.studios. So let me just show you the df.studios now, what we are going to have left. You see now that we've removed the square brackets. But this will pose challenge to some empty, those empty ones. This will be empty. That's why you are seeing that nothing was in 12098, 12099, you can see. So we need to replace those ones with NaN. Is this line clear?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Please let's not slip off. So let me comment that out because we've done it. Since I want to replace it also in that same cell. Or maybe I shouldn't. Someone asked me this question privately that, how am I doing this thing? That I'll highlight, I'll just remove it from, and I can do it for multiple rows. I hope we know how to do that.
Control/.
No,
Yeah?
we don't.
Okay, something like this. Control/. Thank you. So something like this. You know, you can highlight all your comment like this, and just do Control/.
Forward slash.
Yeah, that's one that has question mark on it. Beside the sheet. So, and you can highlight it back and Control/ again. Hey. Okay. So that's it. Yeah, just by the way. Yeah, I just want to be sure we also know that. Okay. So now let's replace the empty one with NaN. So I'll do that. Let's create something here. So we'll do DF. We'll still save it back as studios. We'll do DF, select as studios, and then we'll do replace. So what we'll just replace the empty with NaN, np.nan. Okay. So now, if we check our studios, so you can now see now we have NaN in those empty space. Okay. We are not, I mean, we can choose to be done here, but I also want to introduce something that before you build your machine learning model, there are some feature engineering that you will do. We have been doing some, and I want to show you some. So now, and this one is based on domain knowledge. Now that there are, you know, this column stands for studios that helped in creating the anime. Now there are some roles that have lists of studios. Yeah, so we might want to treat that. I'm showing us one here that this one is a list of studios. So maybe what we want to do now, this is optional. This is just based on our own interpretation that, okay, let's split those rows. We want to split the rows that have more than one studio. We'll create a data frame from it and put all inside a single column. The idea is that we want to, we don't want to select only studios that have, because there are some studios that occur once. There are some studios that they use to produce many of these animes. We want to select studios that they use to produce animes from 100 and above. And we'll make use of that, you know, because when you get to machine learning, this is it. When you want to convert categorical variable to numeric variable, we call it one-hot encoding. I will explain it further there. Most times we convert all the categories here, like media that has TV, web, we will make them individual columns. So in these cases, if the categories are so many, it will make you to have many columns. So as a data scientist, you must discuss with your team on, is there a way you can derive some insight from this category? So what I want to do is that I want to look at studios that producers use more to produce these animes, and those ones that have 100 that was used to create more than 100, who know that we'll keep those categories, and all the other ones that create animes less than 100, we just turn them to order. I will show you what I mean. So the first thing I want to do is I will split the rows with more than one studio, create a data frame from it. So something like this, create a studio. Let me create a data frame called Studio F. I won't create it in my data frame because we already have a data frame. So I will do select my studios, okay? So I'll have to pass it as a string to split. We did that last week. We still did that now. They are separated with comma, so I will split by comma. And then I can expand. Maybe I should even show you what the result will be so that will be clear before I save it in a data frame. So expand equals to true. Look at what it's going to give us. So for some, let me do that. For some that have multiple studio, there will be another studio that will be here, there will be another studio. But all this one that you are seeing none, those are the single studio that produce anime. So what I want to do here, there is also a concept I will focus more when we get to machine learning, how to convert data frame to NumPy. You just do dot values. So I will use that here. So dot values will convert that data frame to a NumPy array, which will become a list of lists. I can even flatten it. Since I want to create a data frame from it, I want to turn all these list of lists, to a single list. So I will flatten it. We'll do this when we start working with computer vision, flatten it to become one list. So now it has flattened everything to become one row. So now I can create a data frame from here. I will show you, it will become clear what I'm trying to do later. So I can create a data frame from this and say PD dot data frame. Okay. And then I will set my columns, the columns of my data frame to be, let me give it studios. Okay. And then let me save this as a variable called studio_df. Let me show you what we have, studio_df. So this is what we have. I know it's a lot that we are taking in here. Okay, so but once you go back to this video, it will become clear. Just, okay. Now, what I want to do, this is not the end. What I now want to do is I'm setting a threshold. I will now filter out all the studios that are less than this threshold. Now, it's not like I'm going to remove them from my data. I'm still going to turn them to order, but that will help me to be able to pick out the studios that have collaboration, like studios that produces more, like that collaborated together to create an anime or a movie. Okay, sometimes more than one studios collaborated together too. So we want to get such information. This is what we call feature engineering. And that's what makes machine learning very tough. Classical machine learning, not deep learning, because you'll be doing a lot of feature engineering your data, and those will determine the performance of your model. So the first thing I want to do, let me show you something. Let's filter out the ones that are less than this threshold or greater than, show the ones that have greater than this threshold. So let me convert it to, let me create a variable called val_c. So I will take my studio data frame, studio data frame, select the column studios. Okay, so what I will now do here is, okay, I will just select these studios. Okay, I have these studios now. So let me do something so that you can see. So if we have this studio, this is what we have here. If I do dot values, let me see. So we have this, okay? I think I need the number first. Let me see, I need the number. So let me select, I want to show, let me get the number first of how many times each of these one occurs. Let me use value count to get the numbers first. Let me create some insert here. Sorry about that. So let's get how many times each of the studio occurs, so that will be clear. Studio_df, select the studios and do dot value count. So this tells me some studios, you can see some occurs 1-1. Some studios like created more than, you can see this particular studio now created over 600 anime. So we need this kind of, we want to do this. We want to select all the ones that have the accounts that created animes above 100, and we'll do something else about this one that only created one anime, just one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just select, create this one, save it as the val_c that I was trying to do. Okay. Now, if I now do val_c, I want to select these values out. So if I do dot values, you see, those are the values there. You can see a lot of them for 111 animes, a lot are 2. I think some are 8, 10. You can see that I only need the ones above 100, and I can turn these ones to maybe order in my data frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do greater than or equal to my threshold. So that will give me true or false. So I can use this to subset my val_c. Okay. So if I do something like this, I only need about these 20 studios. That's the one I want to use. So that's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so that way I filter out all those ones less than 100. So let me just copy this and put in that cell because that's where we have the threshold defined. Okay, so if I do this, yeah, that's what we have. So yeah, I've not done it. I've not tampered with our data. I'm just showing you where we are going. I can even convert the names of these studios now to a list. I can select their names and then convert. It's not this threshold I need, it's the names of the studios that created multiple animes. So I'm going to convert that to I'm going to select the index because these are the index in that series, and I'm going to convert it to a list. So to do that, let me just, to do that, we just do dot index. Okay, if I do dot index, see what you're going to have. That's the list of those animes. Then I can do to list. To convert to a list, look at what you're going to have. Is now a list. And I can save this as a variable called studio underscore list. I know I have said a lot, so I would just advise you to go back and watch this just to understand what I've done. Okay?
It's like that's the only solution, because even me say I'm lost as I am. I thought it's biting me right now.
I'm sorry for that. Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So now, so we have a list of the studios. So I've done all of this, converted it to a list. So now let me create a new data frame. I mean, this one is optional. You can create a new data frame again from my DF. This one is optional. You don't have to do this. I just don't want to tamper with the one I've done before again, so that I can have access to it in case I mess up with my coding. I can retrace my steps. Okay, so now I just keep this list. I've not touched it, but I'm going to work on it now. So, but before I do that, I want to fill the missing values in that studios. I'm going to fill it with others, okay? Others, just to the missing values there. So I'm taking the studios, filling, and I'm filling with I followed this because of what we already have. Remember when we removed the square bracket, we now have these two strings. So I will still use it, but I'm still going to strip it off. But to fill the missing value with other, I'm still following that format of the string that we have there. So if I check the missing value in studios now, we don't have missing value in studios, but I still want to do some feature engineering. That's why I did all of these studio lists. What I've done is to select studios that created animes up between 100 and above. That's what these two cells are doing. Okay, so now this is where I wrote the code to. So let me explain what we are doing here. So now I want to. I'm going to look through the rows in my data. I select now I'm going to select each row. In this case, maybe let me show us, let me just create something just to show you what I'm doing. Studios. So now the first I is going to pick the first value called bones. And now I keep that in memory, I call it text. Now I want to look through the studio list that I created here. Remember, this studio list here is just like 20 list of studios that created over 100 animes. So it's just like 20 there. So what I'm now doing is that I'm now going to look through those 20 one by one and check if those 20 studios there, if it's also found in this, if it's a name that corresponds to this. I'm going to look through all the 20. All these 20 studios, and then check if they are found in, right now we've only selected the first one in the studios. I will look through the whole 20 studios and check, does it find any, is there a name called Bones, any studio called Bones among the 20? That's what this line is doing. If it is, I'm going to append the result to studio val. That means Bones created more than 100 anime. If it is not, I'm just going to, that means it's not going to do anything. So, and that's what I'm doing here, that, okay, if it is not, that's if the flag remains there, because if it is, then we would have succeeded to make this flag 1. But if it goes through all the 20 and it couldn't find Bones there, that means this flag will still remain 0. And that's what this is catching. Then append others to it. Let me show you what the result of this code will do. So now Bones is found there. Now the second row, which is this one, is not found among those 20. That's why we have others. The third one is found among those 20. That's why it's listed. The fourth one is there. The fifth one and the sixth ones are not part of them. That's why it put others there. So now our list will now be the length of the whole data. So that's what I've just done. I've just made sure that I only keep the 20 row, the 20 studios that occurs that created more than 100. All other ones, I turn them to others. And I'm going to create a new variable for them, a new column. But before I create a new column, I want to remove these empties, this double string. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm looping through the studio var that I created here. And I'm saying strip this empty, this string here. And I'm creating it now as a new variable in my data frame called studio primary. Let me show you. So this is the most difficult part of the data scientist job, actually. Okay, sometimes I dislike data science work because of this part. So you can see now that I don't have those empty quotes, but we have others. So these others are those ones that produces anime less than 100. All these ones that you see, they are those that produces anime 100 and above. So that's all I've been doing. And we are almost done. Yeah, we're almost done, okay? So that's what I've done so far. That's what we have. So now you can see pre-processing that we now have that studio primary. So the only additional thing we want to do is that we just want to create collaboration. We want to know, okay, if we have a list of studios in a line, that means those studios collaborated together to produce that anime. So we want to create another column in our data called Studios Collab that will show if two or more studios collaborated to produce an anime. All of these are optional, but these are the different strategies you can use to do your feature engineering, to get more information, give more information to the model. The more the information the machine learning model you want to build have, the better the performance of the model. So that's why feature engineering is very tough, and that's what we are doing here. And it requires domain knowledge. Okay, so now what I'm doing now is, because there are still studios that list of studios here, though they are still there. So that's why I'm now doing that. I'm taking my studios column. It's a series. I pass it as a string, what we have done before. So I can split and then expand it. So what I'm now doing, let me show you the result of this line so that you can see the result of this line alone, so that you can see what the outcome will be. Okay, instead of just taking the code. So I'll remove this, just see what the outcome will be. So what the outcome will be is that there are some, so this will first, split those columns. So if you have none, that will mean that there is no list of studios there. But if there is a list of studios, some have list of studios actually that are here. So if I want to give you unique, let me see unique so that you can see. You see that there are none there, and some have some are not, some are not, they are not none. So if it has none, that means there's no collaboration. But if it is not none, because we have already split, then that means there is a collaboration in that studio. So we can represent that with something else. That's what I'm doing here. That, okay, after you split it, after you expand it, select the studio. If, and I'm putting, if the what you are selecting is none, represent it as 0, meaning 0 collaboration. But if it is not none, put it as 1. So, but it's going to be adding, it's going to put 1, means there is a collaboration. There's a collaboration. I'm not counting how many studios are collaborating, but I'm just giving to say 0 means no collaboration. 1 means there's a collaboration to produce this particular anime. How many studios are collaborating together? We can get that information from studio primaries. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so I will do that. There's no error. Let me just show us what we have. .edge. I know this is a lot, okay? So, but we have to accept it. We have to take it. That's what we signed up for. You can say, where is the studio primary? Studio collab, sorry. Let me see. Anything? Oh, it's DF1, not DF. So if you look at this studio collab, you can see, so those 0 are those where there is no collaboration. And where we have collaboration, you will see 1 there. So now I can drop the studios column because I've created studio primary, studio collabs from it. Okay, so I'll do df1 dot drop. Now pass in studios, and remember to set axis to be 1, and remember to set in place to be true. Okay, so we are dropping the column, not row, so we don't need to reset index. So now we have pre-processed a lot here. Let's check for missing values again in our data to be sure of the missing values left. We're almost done, we're almost there. So now the missing values now is now from duration, which we undo now. We'll drop description because we don't need it. So the main 2 ones we need to cater for are duration and the number of people that watched a particular anime. So those are the only 2. So I want to use the idea Mr. AY suggested last week, that when you want to fill the missing value of duration, each anime has different duration. So it will not be too good to say, okay, I just want to fill all the missing value in duration with the median or the mean. But each anime has different duration. So why not we group by, so what we want to do is that we want to group by the media type and the studio primary, but you can choose to just group by media type. But we want to say, okay, let's group by the studio that produces and the media that is showing, maybe TV, web. We want to group by this because the duration of each of these may be dependent on the studio primary or the media type that is showing it. If it's a TV, maybe TV just want to show, maybe the duration they want to show will vary. So we are grouping by this. Now, this is where you select. Now, I want to do it for duration and watch at the same time. If it's a single column, just select duration. But because I want to use that to fill the number of the missing value in watch too, so I'm selecting those 2 columns I want to fill. Now, when you group by and you want to fill the NA, you have to use what we call the dot transform method. Inside the dot transform method, remember I taught lambda in the basic Python. So I'm now taking lambda and say, okay, lambda, if you remember, this is the argument, and then this is the operation, fill NA. So what this is doing is that the argument here is representing the columns that I'm selecting. That's what X is representing. And I'm using fill NA as we have been doing. And then this is the X. So it will take the median of each column. It will do that for duration. It will do that for washed. And it will use that to fill the NA in washed and duration separately, not together. I know it's a lot. So let me check the missing values again. Okay. And I'm saving the result back as duration and wash. So if I check the missing values, now, unfortunately, wash has been taken care of, but some rows in this duration is still there. So out of 4,636 we're still left 166 that is not taken care of. This is because we are selecting two columns at the same time. So, and we are grouping by these. And it's possible that it's even because we are grouping, not because we are selecting. It's possible that the number of rows is because of this group. It's because that there's a mismatch there. So what we will do now is that we will now fill the missing values left by the median of duration. Because now we've grouped by it to fill the median. So we'll just fill the remaining one by the median of just the duration, and that will be all. And that will be the end. And then we'll drop the description. That's all. So we'll take the DF2, take the duration, and we'll do fill NA, and then let's calculate the median of fill NA of this duration. So we'll fill it with the median, okay? And then we'll do in place equals to true. So what I've done is that I want to fill the NA in duration. I'm filling it, I'm calculating its median, I'm filling it with the median, and I'm doing this. So if this works, let's check the missing values now. DF2 dot is now dot sum. Now you can see we're only left with description. We'll just drop that. We don't need the description and title for further analysis. So we can just drop those two, and that will be the end. Okay. DF2 dot drop description. Okay, since we want to drop with your title, let's just pass in a list. So we just do bracket as title, and then we'll set the axis to 1, and then we can do in place equals to true. So yeah, that's it. So if we do this, we're done. Let me just check to be sure. We have 2 dot is now, and then dot sum. So now our data is cleaned. And remember, you can use the suggestion of you need to melt this and remove the tag. You can remove all of that. So, but I'll keep the data this way. So this is a clean data that we can use tomorrow. If we want to use this for visualization, we can build a visualization on this. And as I put, let's visualize the data. So I also put a summary of what we have done here, So what we have done is called exploratory data analysis or data preprocessing. So we remove, so I just described the data here. And then I said, okay, what we've done here is that we dropped the title and description. We converted the duration from string to numeric by applying this function. We preprocess the studios column to convert list of value to a suitable format for analysis and modeling. These are the missing values in the data. So the missing value in rating were dropped. Starting year were dropped. The finish year were imputed with 2020. The season of release were imputed with is missing. The media type with unknown. Duration and what were imputed by median values grouped by these 2 columns. and the remaining missing values were imputed with the median. The starting year and final finish year were combined to create a new feature called years running, and the original columns were dropped. So this is just a summary of what I've done in today's class. I know if I try to ask if you have questions, you may not have, but if you have, before we end the class, please ask questions. Question. All right. So if there's no question, I want us to go back. So what I'm going to do is this. Maybe I should remove the previous notebook and upload this notebook. Do you want me to do that? Upload the completed one here, so that you can use it for future, your personal work or for. Will you like that? Okay.
Help us upload this. Yes.
All right. So I will upload.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I will upload this one that have code so that you can use the code for your reference. Right? Yeah. So thank you so much. We'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you so.
All right.
All right. Thank you too. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.